Good morning. My name is Steve Powell, and I have the privilege of serving as the president of Local 881 of the United Food and Commercial Workers. I'm honored to introduce the governor today, and if I'm being honest, I'm a little relieved that I'm speaking early in the program because I don't want to follow Terry O'Sullivan, who's my good friend. Terry? Local 881 members are proud to work at grocery stores, pharmacies, cannabis dispensaries, food processing plants, prison barbershops throughout the state of Illinois, and other retail establishments. We are so fortunate to be in the state of Illinois with leaders and lawmakers who will fight for working people. We're thrilled to be able to work with lawmakers to improve the lives of our members and all working people. So we're delighted when our governor introduced the Illinois Grocery Initiative, spending $20 million to put money for grocery stores and food deserts. Our governor has been a champion for working people. He has supported and signed laws that are meaningful and improving people's lives, increasing the minimum wage, giving 1.4 million workers in our state the first raise in nearly a decade. The Paid Leave Act for all, allowing working people to take time off without fear of losing their jobs because they didn't have a union contract. Worker Freedom of Speech Act, banning employers from holding captive audience meetings during organizing campaigns. A massive overhaul of the child labor laws in our state. Climate and Equitable Jobs Act, the boldest climate action in Illinois' history, moving us to 100% clean energy by 2050 and creating good union jobs throughout the entire sector. Our governor has proven over and over that he's an advocate of working people, and his leadership has improved the lives of hundreds of thousands of people throughout our state. It's my great honor to introduce our governor, J.B. Pritzker.
Are you fired up? Good morning, Illinois Democrats. What an exciting week we are in for, here in the land of Lincoln, the birthplace of Hillary Clinton, the home state of Barack Obama. We are launching our candidates, our federal candidates for president and vice president toward victory so that in just 78 days, we will get to say the two words that we've been waiting 248 years to say, Madam President. And not to be forgotten, like a pairing of a great craft beer from Illinois with the tastiest Chicago hot dog, Kamala Harris chose my friend Tim Walz to be her running mate. So we all get to brag about Kamala and the coach. Now, I want to thank Steve Powell. I want to thank the men and women of organized labor. We have so many here in the room and, of course, across the state of Illinois. I want to thank you for your friendship. Our union friends have been, they've stood as Democrats and for the Democratic Party in a way that almost no one else has, and I'm just so very pleased to be aligned with them and with all of you who support organized labor. I want to recognize our great Illinois Democratic Party chair, Lisa Hernandez. And, of course, our senior senator, Dick Durbin. And one of, I guess, several women that really has my heart because she's a hero to me, and that's Senator Tammy Duckworth. I don't want to forget my friends in the General Assembly. Thank you all very much for the work that you've done. Everything that Steve talked about a few minutes ago is because of the work of the General Assembly, Democrats in the General Assembly. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And of course, we have a whole bunch of elected dignitaries here, and I thank you for the work that you've done to make this the greatest Democratic Party that Illinois has ever had and in the entire country. So thank you. Now, as you walk the convention floor in Chicago today and each day of the convention, be proud of who we are as Illinois Democrats. Everyone knows, of course, that we're a big blue state in the middle of the country. But what many people don't know is that what you all know, which is over the last 50 years, we've had more Republican governors than we have had Democratic governors, and more years of Republican rule in the governorship than we have had Democratic governors. It seems crazy, but it's true that when I serve out just the end of this second term, I will be the longest serving Democratic governor in the history of Illinois. So I'm not suggesting that I want to try to beat Jim Thompson's 14-year record. My wife's not here, and I don't want anybody talking to her about this. But she is my term limit, so if all of you want to talk to her and convince her one way or another, by the way, you're welcome to do that. But Illinois Democrats have done so much. I mean, think about it. Since I came into office and we've had a supermajority in the Democratic legislature, we have raised the minimum wage to a living wage. We have eliminated grocery taxes. We're canceling medical debt. We've lowered small business taxes. We've reduced the cost of prescription drugs. Democrats raised teacher pay, and we amended our Constitution to guarantee workers' rights. We expanded voting rights and LGBTQ rights, and we enshrined reproductive rights into law, making us an oasis for women throughout the middle of the country whose states have criminalized women's health care. And who voted against all of that? The Republicans. Literally, all of those things. It's almost as if Republicans don't want working families to succeed. They're obsessed with other things, though, like explaining away Donald Trump's 34 felony fraud convictions, or whitewashing the fact that J.D. Vance said he hates police and wants to raise taxes on people who don't have children. And MAGA Republicans are attacking the environment and voting against education and scientific advancement and new jobs, especially for rural communities. Frankly, it's embarrassing for them. You all remember that back in 2018, our party was not exactly begging for me to run for governor. No one was crying out for a white, Ukrainian-American, Jewish billionaire. I get it. But I'm a Democrat. And I'm a Democrat because when my family arrived in Chicago from Ukraine, where they were refugees, they would have been killed by Russians had they not made it here, a social service agency gave them a place to live. The state gave them a free public education. Yeah, public education. My dad joined the Navy and became a crypto analyst listening to Soviet submarine transmissions in the Cold War. My mother was a nurse and an activist marching on behalf of LGBTQ rights and on behalf of reproductive rights. Frankly, she was fighting for societal change before her time. And I whenever I think of her, and she passed away in 1982, but whenever I think of her, I think I have so much more still to do to fight for women's rights and LGBTQ rights. And frankly, whenever we accomplish anything, I think she is maybe looking down and applauding what we're getting done in Illinois. So thank you. So You call it nature or call it nurture, but those values, fighting for personal freedoms, for our veterans, for health care that everyone deserves, for a chance to make a better life for your family, well, that's how I was raised, and that's what I believe, and that is why I'm a Democrat. Those same values and that passion define who Vice President Kamala Harris and Tim Walz are, and I don't need to tell you that if we fight hard enough, in 78 days, we will defeat Donald Trump and make real progress for working families across America. So I know it's early in the morning, but I got to ask you, are you ready for the fight? Yes. Illinois Democrats, are you ready for the fight? Yes. Let's go get them. Enjoy the convention, everyone.
Please welcome to the stage Congressman Eric Sorensen.
Tough act to follow, but Democrats, are you ready to go? Before I begin, I'm going to tell you a story. I'm new to the United States House of Representatives. I grew up in Rockford, Illinois. I know there's some Rockford people here. All right. As a kid, all I ever wanted to be was the weatherman on Channel 13 in Rockford, Illinois. But you know what? I got to live the dream of my childhood. There was one thing, though, that my mom did in 1984, is she pulled me out of St. Edward's Elementary School. She didn't tell me why she was taking me out of school. But she took me to the Rockford Airport, and I remember hanging on that green fence, and I watched Air Force One land over my head. Now, in 1984, if my mom would have been able to say, you know what, Eric, the next time Air Force One lands at the Rockford Airport, you're going to be on it with the President of the United States. Because in 2023, I was able to welcome President Biden to my district, to Rockford, Illinois, to celebrate the end of the UAW strike and the opening of the Belvedere Stellantis plant. I don't care where you're from, in Illinois or you're outside of the state of Illinois, we're in sweet home Chicago. Illinois is the perfect place to host this year's Democratic National Convention because here we have the skilled workers who build and grow what we need to keep our country moving forward. Soon, we're going to build those EV trucks in Belvedere that are going to help us go forward while helping us heal the environment. The state and the district I represent in central and northwestern Illinois in Congress is special. We're home to the Rockford Peaches, the big green tractors, and the harvesters that are proudly built in East Moline, Illinois. Caterpillar, that's building and moving the earth from Peoria. And somewhere in Bloomington, I haven't found him, there's a guy named Jake at State Farm. But I'll tell you, I'm so proud to have been born and raised in this great state, where we look out for one another, we stand up for those who need a little help, and we protect our rights when extremists want to strip them away. A few years ago, there were a lot of people that said, you know, Eric, somebody like you can't win Sherry Bustos' seat. I knew what they meant. I remember hearing that in 2008 when we went and did that unthinkable thing and we voted for Barack Obama. People said that we weren't ready for that. Well, I'll tell you what. We proved them all wrong when I became the first out LGBTQ member of Congress in Illinois' history. Now, I'll tell you, I'm the only meteorologist, too. But I spent 2 decades of my life in Rockford and in the Quad Cities talking to farmers about climate change. And when you think about this, I was talking to farmers about climate change, and I just got endorsed by the Illinois Farm Bureau. So many of my colleagues, they shied away from climate because they thought it was going to separate our audience. But you know what? I earned the people's trust, not by getting it right every day, but by being there with the information that they could trust. So when the storms were at their worst, I had to be at my best. Now I'm working to earn their trust with lower costs, investing in infrastructure, and protecting abortion rights. And you know what's going to happen? Not just my re-election in my frontline seat, but in 78 days, Vice President Harris and Governor Walz, they will earn our trust too. It's not just what we make in Illinois that's special. It's what we are made of. So thank you all for being here, celebrating what we have and what we believe in at the National Convention. But also, I can proudly say that the forecast for November 5th is good. Thank you all so much, everyone.
Please welcome to the stage Speaker of the Illinois House, Chris Welch.
Good morning, Illinois Democrats. Good morning, Illinois Democrats. Welcome to DNC Week. Are you ready? Are you ready? Chicago is definitely ready for DNC Week, and I'm just so excited that we get to welcome 50,000 people to our city starting today. Are you guys excited? Are you fired up? Ready to go? We're fired up and we're ready to go. You know what? We are ready for Illinois to play another historic role in the great American story. We did it with a guy who had a funny name from the South Side when we elected Barack Obama, President of the United States. You know, and we're going to do it again with a woman whose uniquely American story also included a childhood in Evanston and Urbana. I bet you guys didn't know that about Kamala Harris. Are you ready to elect Kamala Harris, the first woman president of the United States? Barack gave us hope. Kamala is going to move us forward. And I got to tell you, I'm so excited to help move this country forward with our next president. Illinois has long played a significant role in the American story. You know, this past Friday, I had the honor and privilege of getting invited to the White House. And, you know, I've been to the White House many times before, Ford. And, you know, I thought it was going to be very similar to past, you know, visits. But on this past Friday, this visit was in the Oval Office with 15, 20 people, with our great senators, Tammy Duckworth. Give her a round of applause, please. If I go like this, give them a round of applause. Senator Durbin, Illinois State Senator Doris Turner, Congresswoman Nikki Bozinski. We were in the Oval Office for President Obama to sign a proclamation declaring the site of the Springfield riots in 1908 a national monument. A national monument. And, you know, it's important what the president did because we got to remember the past to know where we're going to. If we're going to move forward, we can't forget the past. And what happened in Springfield, Illinois in 1908 was a very important point in our country's history because it was the home of a former president. Because it was the home of President Abraham Lincoln, it got national attention. And because it got national attention, people wanted something done about race relations in America. And the NAACP was created because of what happened in Illinois. You guys understand that? Where would this country be if it wasn't for the NAACP? Okay? We wouldn't have Thurgood Marshall, Roy Wilkins. We wouldn't have Brown versus Board of Education and desegregated schools. We wouldn't have had the Montgomery bus boycotts and the civil rights movement. We wouldn't have had Martin Luther King, who had a dream. We wouldn't have had Jesse Lewis Jackson from Chicago. Understand the significance of Jesse Jackson. And the moment that we start today, Jesse Jackson changed the game. He changed the game in 1984 and 1988 when a black man ran for president of the United States. He changed the game and opened the doors for so many of us that are in this room today. Jesse Jackson told us to keep hope alive. Let me hear you say it, keep hope alive. He told us that we all were somebody. Everybody in this room believed that we were somebody because of Jesse Lewis Jackson. Mignon Moore heard that speech in 1984, and she believed that she was somebody. And she has spent her whole life empowering women all over this country to believe that they could be somebody too. And what is she going to do today? She's going to gavel us in to the Democratic National Convention. Bobby Rush believed that he was somebody, a former Black Panther, alderman, congressman, preacher. Bobby Rush is somebody because of Jesse Lewis Jackson. Danny K. Davis believed that he was somebody. My congressman from the 7th Congressional District is somebody because he believed in what Jesse Jackson told us in 1984 and 1988. Let me tell you, I'm just a kid from the woods. Maywood and Bellwood. You know that, Ford. And I heard that speech, I was 13 years old. And I believed I was somebody. And I stand before you today on the first day of this Democratic Convention as our state's first black speaker. I am tremendously honored. I'm here because of the representatives in this room. Representatives, please stand up. Please stand up. You're somebody. You're somebody. You're somebody. You're somebody. We're all somebody. Making history in Chicago. Moving this country forward. Now, what's at stake in this country in the next 78 days is so important. Let's make sure we understand and tell people for the next 78 days that there are two different visions for this country. Two different visions. We have someone leading a party that wants to reverse everything that we have gained in this country. They want to reverse voting rights. They want to reverse abortion rights. They want to reverse workers' rights, Terry. They want to reverse LGBTQ plus rights. And they want to ban books and erase history. Do we want to go in reverse? No! Anybody want the shuttle bus today to go in reverse down 290? No! We want the bus to go forward. Kamala Harris and Tim Walz wants to move America forward. They want to let the people vote. They want to protect our democracy. They want unions to build this country. They want women to decide what happens with their bodies, and they want you to love who you want to love. They want to move this country forward. Today, Kamala Harris is here with our great president who renewed America, Joe Biden. Let's give it up for Joe Biden. And together, they are ready to make history. Are you ready to make history, Illinois? Actually, are you ready to make herstory, Illinois? Are you ready to say, Madam President? Are you ready to do the work? I don't believe you. Are you ready to do the work? What's my motto? I don't hear you. What's my motto? Winners do the work. Repeat after me. Winners do the work. Winners do the work. Winners do the work. Thank you, Illinois.
Now, please welcome First Lady of Minnesota, Gwen Walz.
Good morning, Illinois. Good morning. You are my first stop. So you are my Monday morning first period. We're going to school today stop. So here's how we started in the classroom. I say, good morning, friends. Good morning. Thank you so much, but I need a better welcome than that. Good morning, friends. Good morning. Thank you so much. There's no place I'd rather be than in this room with the Illinois delegation beginning this convention. So thank you for having me so much. I want to thank Robin Kelly, the chair. Thank you so much, right? And of course, J.B. Pritzker. He was here already, I think, right? Yes, he was here and gone, and he's like off to other rooms to make things happen. And I've gotten to know him through the Governors Association, and we're so appreciative of all that you've done. This is one of my favorite cities in the entire world, and I have to say, just being a hop, skip, and a jump in Minneapolis and St. Paul, we just make our way to Chicago quite often, and it's where my sisters and I and our children and our husbands come for New Year's Eve usually, and so we have a good time right here in Chicago before we all head back to school. Some of you might know I come from a family of many teachers, just like the governor. Are there teachers here? Are there teachers in the house? Yes. Yes, it's so great to see you, and we are about ready for back to school. So I want to thank you personally for hosting this 2024 Democratic National Convention in your home state. We feel so welcome and so privileged to be here. My name is Gwen, as we said before, and I am really excited and proud to be part of Team Harris Walz, right? I think this is day 10. Woo, it's fast. But I can't think of a better team than Kamala and Tim. They have both spent their careers fighting for middle-class families. And you've probably all been seeing that or maybe reading a little bit about it. But they're families like the ones that they grew up in. And they want to give everyone a chance at the American dream. And isn't that what we all want? Everyone. That's a key word. All of us and everyone. That's how we think. And together, right? Together we're going to do this. Okay, thank you for that. Remember, you're my first group, so I'm warming up here. So come on. Come on. Together, Kamala and Tim will fight for the future that all of our children deserve. So it's been, like I said, just a little bit more than a week since Tim joined the ticket. So I wanted to just take a few minutes to introduce myself. Is that okay? Yes. Okay. So I am a mom. Yep, you know that already. And I'm going to tell you, I wear a lot of different hats, or that's how people say that. But I'm going to say I wear a lot of different shoes. Right? I wear a lot of different shoes. I wear my mom's shoes. I'm a sister. I'm a friend. I'm a retired military spouse. Right now, I'm the First Lady of Minnesota, which is a pretty good gig. Yeah. And for so much of my life, I've been an educator. Yeah, that's a through thread. Now, I already asked if there are teachers in the house. There are. Teachers, stand up. Stand up, teachers. Thank you. Thank you, teachers, for your work. Yeah. Right? Like Tim Walz said, we're taking you to school, right? Right? And that's how Tim and I first met. We were both teaching in Nebraska. He taught social studies. I taught English. And we even shared a classroom. You know how this goes in schools. There was this old choir room, and they put a divider right down the middle. It was a thin divider, too. And my classroom was on one side, and his classroom was on the other side. And I want to tell you, and you might guess this already, his class was a little louder than mine. There was just so much energy in that classroom. But I thought, what's happening in there? And we had a conversation, and we realized that what we really shared was a belief that education can be transformative. And that was the first thing we knew that we shared, which grew into our marriage and our partnership. We saw firsthand how transformative education was. I just want to tell you a quick little story. Waylon was a football player on the team Tim coached, and he was also a student in my English classroom. And he was brilliant on the football field, but guess what? He was difficult in my classroom. He was difficult. And I soon learned that Waylon was reading very far below his grade level. And his acting out actually was his attempt to hide it from his peers and from me. And so Coach Walls and I huddled up, and we made a game plan. We said if Waylon would come in for tutoring with me several times a week to learn to read, he could keep playing football. And he agreed. And he worked hard. And I started to see some of what I saw on the football field in my classroom. His reading began to improve, and he continued that tutoring, even after the season ended. We never discussed it, though he just kept reading. Tim would often cross that divider in our classroom, and he'd come and read with Waylon, and he'd cheer him on, and we'd talk about books, and we'd talk about what we were reading next. And at the end of the year, Waylon had confidence in himself, both on and off the field. Yep. Yep. He went on to graduate from high school, and he had a shot to succeed. He had a chance. And I want you to know how the partnership works a little bit with Tim and I. That's how we do things. We pitch in, we help each other out. And one of the things I love most about Tim is that he believes in his very core so strongly that every child deserves a chance to get ahead. Right? Yep. And as I've watched Vice President Harris and gotten to know her even better, bus tours in Pennsylvania will do that for you. I know she shares that also. And it's a vision they're going to fight for every single day in the White House. And as we build a future for our kids that we can be proud of, we are going to do this together. Now, you don't know my mom, but I think some of you know my mom, right? My mom is now a retired PE teacher and a science teacher. She's just going to turn 86 quite soon. Still substitute teaches on occasion. Yep. Church organist. Still gives piano lessons. I have 3 sisters. My mom will be here. You might know it. But she would say to me growing up, Gwen, do the work that's in front of you. Now, when I was young, like 6th grade, 7th grade, I thought that meant the dishes. But that's not what my mom was talking about. It was much more profound than that. It was much more about listening and seeing what was in front of me and realizing and recognizing a world, an ever-changing world. It's advice that I find both thoughtful and actionable. So I'm giving you my mom's advice this morning, but I'm also asking you, as delegates to this convention, to embody this advice. I know you already do, because you're here. But we have 78 days to go. 78 short days to make history. 78 days to do the work together. You and I, and Tim, and Kamala, and Doug, and all the representatives in this classroom, and Senator Durbin, and Senator Duckworth. We have 78 days to go. I'm asking you to do the work that's in front of us, to volunteer, to bring a friend, to have those conversations in the grocery store parking lot, or the church parking lot, or whatever parking lot you find yourself in, or the bus stop, wherever it is, to donate, to bake bars for those who are making phone calls, to make phone calls, to drive people, to do whatever it is that we have to do whatever it is that we have to do, whatever the work is that you see in front of you, let's do that work together. And I'm asking that as a commitment from our team. And so, being here, I know you're much willing to do this. I know you're much willing to find others who are going to do this, because this is the way we win. We do it together. So thank you for letting me come to Illinois, the delegation. Thank you for letting me. I said, those people are nice. I've seen that in Chicago. Let that be my first breakfast that I attend on the first day of the convention. I sincerely thank you for your kindness and your warmth, and I'll look forward to seeing you all about here and over at the convention center. Isn't that where we're going tonight? Somebody will tell me. Right, I'll get to the right room. But my most sincere thanks for your commitment, your work, and your friendship. Let's win, because when we fight, we win. All right, thanks.
Please welcome to the stage Executive Director of the Chicago 2024 Host Committee, Christy George.
Good morning, Illinois. How we feeling? You feeling good today? Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. All right, let's give it up for our chair of the Democratic Party of Illinois, Lisa Hernandez. Thank you, Lisa, for all you do. Now, I couldn't think of a better way to kick off this convention than right here with all of you Illinois Democrats doing the work every single day. Give it up for yourselves. There is so much energy in this room. It feels so beautiful, so good. We haven't felt this in so long, right? It's an incredible moment. We are witnessing history right now, and every single one of us is taking part in it. I can't believe that I've got the honor and privilege and pleasure to be in this role. I've got 2 little girls that are at home right now, and they'll be in the United Center on Thursday watching Kamala Harris accept the nomination to be the top of the ticket for the Democratic Party, who will then go on to become the president of the United States, the first black woman president of the United States. Now, in Chicago, we make history. This will be our 26th time hosting a political convention. Our first time was in 1860 when we nominated Abraham Lincoln. Isn't that a trip? And there is no better way to do it than with all of these folks in this room and with our partners in union labor who are powering our convention. Let's give it up for our unions. Now, at the host committee, we have partnered with unions. We have partnered with so many different organizations. We've recruited over 17,000 volunteers. We've got another 15,000 on the waiting list. That means we've got 30,000 people that want to take part in this convention, just serving their city, serving their state, serving their region, and serving their country. That is the energy that is coming to this convention. We've shattered our fundraising goals. We've raised over $94 million for this convention. And this convention is our opportunity to share our successes, to set the agenda for the future, and to show the entire country why Illinois is leading the way. So as we look ahead for the rest of this week, let's carry this energy forward and all of this momentum with us. Every single conversation we have, every meeting we have, every hand that we shake, it is an opportunity for us to push our values forward, to bolster Chicago's standing in the world, and to prepare for the critical elections ahead. Let's embrace this moment. Let's take pride in what we have accomplished here in Illinois, and let's commit to all of the work that still needs to be done. You all in this room are changing this state, you are changing our country, and you are changing our collective future and the future for our children. So thank you so much. Let's have a great week. Illinois Democrats, you're killing it. Thank you.
Please welcome to the stage Senator Tammy Duckworth.
All right. Hey, everyone. Good morning. Let me tell you that this convention, we were saying that our motto was 96, not 68. From now on, everyone will be trying to live up to 2024. And it's going to be because of Christy George and the hard work that she and her team have put together. After months, actually years of hard work, I am so incredibly proud and excited to welcome the world to our great state and our great city this week. And you know, when we had the dream of bringing the DNC to Chicago, it was because we knew that our state and our city could show off the best of what Democrats in America have to offer. We could send the message. This was my pitch to the Democratic Party, was like, where else are you going to go where you're going to see a state that has rebuilt its economy by electing a Democratic governor after a Republican one tried to drive it into the ground? We've had 9 credit upgrades. We've had how many balanced budgets so far, Mr. Speaker? 6 balanced budgets so far. A city that rebuilds itself, a state that rebuilds itself on union, hard work, and labor, growing the middle class, still bringing in foreign direct investment, getting named the Midwest Hydrogen Hub for the entire nation, winning hubs for technology, for ag, all of this stuff. Where are you going to have that other than right here in Illinois? And that was the pitch I made, and they realized that this was the best place to launch the next president of the United States, to launch him. And that's what we need to do for Kamala and for Tim. We need to be the rocket fuel that launches them on to November 5th. Look, we here know, right? We know that the Midwest is more than just the physical and midpoint of our country. We're more than just the heartland. We are the heart of our nation. And we've been talking so much about families and the need to support working families, and Gwen just talked about education and kids. We understand the kind of policies that work for working families. It is very different than what Republicans want to do. And if you look at what they're saying that they want to do things like eliminate the Department of Education. Unbelievable. You know, our policies build communities, we move people forward, we create opportunities for families to succeed. By being a stronghold of organized labor, we protect workers' rights. We raised the minimum wage before most of the rest of the country did to $15 an hour. And guess what? The sky didn't fall. People didn't flee. We actually continue to grow our economy. We are safeguarding reproductive rights, not just for the people of Illinois, but for everybody around us and all over the country. Because we believe that no one, certainly no government official, should ever come between a woman and her right to make decisions about her own body. And here in Illinois, we also know that valuing human life also means passing common sense gun legislation that makes us all safer. And you know, Bobby and I, for the longest time, have introduced and reintroduced, and we're going to continue to reintroduce, a national FOID card program, common sense legislation. I hear all the time from gun owners, like, I don't want the government to know that I have a gun. I say, well, do you have a hunting license? Yes, I do. The government knows you have a firearm. You know, it's crazy. Listen, you're all as fired up as I am about November and the history that we're about to make, and that's the important part, the we part, because we know to have that celebration, we have to continue to work and get our people and our friends and our families and our acquaintances and our coworkers to the polls. We've re-energized the kids. We need to make sure that all the coconuts get out there and vote. So let's fire it up, get to work, exactly, be ready to go, and let's get out there and let's light that rocket fuel. Thanks, everyone.
Please welcome to the stage Mr. Terry O'Sullivan.
Thank you. I'm going to be real quick. I want to thank Tim Dre and Pat for the opportunity to be here today. It really is an honor and a privilege for me to be back in Chicago, in the great state of Illinois, a place that I consider a second home. I actually worked on the Dan Ryan Expressway. I was just under 16 years old. Because in the labors, we really didn't live up to all that child labor stuff. I'm only kidding. And at the end of the day, if you're driving down the Dan Ryan Expressway, and if you hit a pothole, you can blame my ass on it, because I didn't know what I was doing, brothers and sisters. It's great to be with all the strong, proud, and united men and women and leaders of the Illinois State AFL-CIO and all the other politicians and friends that are here. I obviously want to recognize, I know the governor already left. You have a great governor. I'll tell you what, I live in Maryland, and we actually have a good governor now, a hell of a lot better than what we had before. Senator Duckworth and Senator, we have two senators here, and at the end of the day, Senator Durbin, I can honestly say this. I have never been in their office. And the reason I never was, because I wasn't going to waste my damn time, because I knew where they stood each and every time when it came to the rights of union members and working men and women in our country. Thank you for the great job. And I know our congressman, who is a meteorologist, I can't even say it, all right? At the end of the day, I'm not. But I think you can tell like we can tell. The winds are changing. The weather has changed. And we're going to elect Kamala Harris and Governor Walz as the next president and vice president of the United States of America. We have our speaker, who is kick-ass. He did it once again. Thank you, Speaker, for all that you do. And Steve Powell, a fairly dangerous character that most of you know. He is a dear friend of mine, as his father was. Steve, thank you. We're honored to be a sponsor along with the UFCW of this event. Now, I was president of the laborers for just under 24 years. Now I'm the chairman of ULICO, which is one of the proud sponsors. We have Eric Dean, general president of the Ironworkers, that's with us here today. And I will say this, ULICO is a financial and insurance company. We probably have a couple of $2 billion that we've invested in the infrastructure here, not only in Chicago, but throughout the great state of Illinois. There is somebody that is not with us today. Unfortunately, he's here with us in spirit, and that is Ed Smith. He was one of my closest friends. I know how friendly he was with all of you. Somebody that made a difference not only in this city and in this state, but throughout our country in the trade union movement. He was one of the finest, brightest, and most determined labor leaders and individuals that I ever met. So please give it up again for somebody that will always be with us, whether he's here in person or not, but his spirit resides in this room. His spirit resides in our union and throughout our country, the one and only Ed Smith. Now, everybody said, we're here to make history this week. right? And to make a difference in our country. You know, to me, this one, we always talk about election of a lifetime. This one, brothers and sisters, is really for all the marbles. I don't think our democracy, I don't think our country, and I sure as hell know that working men and women, middle-class families cannot afford for this moke to get back in there for 4 years. I'm energized and excited, and at the same time, I feel bad. And I know a lot of you do as well. I feel bad for President Biden, right? But he once again, what did he do? He stepped up for our country. He stepped up for our party. And he was one of the finest, not only presidents, but labor presidents that we've ever had in the history of our country, brothers and sisters. And it's high time. My mother used to wash my mouth out with soap till I got to the degree that I actually like the taste of soap. But I will tell you one thing. This sexist, racist, draft-dodging, lying son of a bitch has got to go once and for all. We not only have to win, we have to kick his ass all the way back to Mar-a-Lago, put a fork in him, and end Donald Trump's presence in our country, in our world, brothers and sisters. I get so sick and tired of listening to his horse shit on TV. Because every time he opens his pie hole, all he can do is lie. Because he doesn't know how to tell the damn truth. I mean, it's ridiculous. I mean, I think really my daughter, my youngest one is a junior. She just started school today at the University of Miami. And I said, you know, what do you want to do in life? And she goes, well, I'm thinking about medicine. I said, well, why don't you be a brain surgeon? Because there's plenty of assholes in our country that need a lobotomy that support Donald Trump. You know, again, we know what we're up against. We are the trade union movement. We are politicians that have supported us every step of the way. And God bless you. And I mean that. Thank you from the bottom of our heart. And we are in for the fight. The speaker talked about, are we up to it? You bet your ass we're up to it, right? And we're going to finally put a fork in this guy and get the job done. You know what? When the bell rings, we come out swinging. We won't back down. We won't stand down. We won't step down. We won't be kept down. And we won't be held down. We are the labor movement. We are the great state of Illinois. And it will be your spark that lights the fire that leads to Kamala Harris being our president of the United States and Tim Walz being our vice president. So stand up, rise up, kick ass and take names. I hope and you know that you make me feel the power. May you in this great state of Illinois continue to be the power and continue to use the power to get this job done. Thank you very much.
Please welcome to the stage President of the Illinois Federation of Teachers, Dan Montgomery.
Well, I know I had it in my contract that I never have to follow Terry O'Sullivan. They said I was going to follow Cory Booker. That would have been bad enough. Hats off, Mr. President. Thank you for that. I'm Dan Montgomery. I'm president of the Illinois Federation of Teachers. I'm the first out gay labor leader of a statewide union in Illinois. Took me a while to say that. Most importantly, I represent 100,000 plus pre-school, pre-birth teachers, support staff, paraprofessionals, college professors in public and private, public employees under every constitutional officer in this great state. Our members are proud labor unionists. They're not just educators, they're labor unionists. And let me tell you, the work we do is committed to increasing the Speaker's supermajority, increasing President Harmon's supermajority, re-electing Eric Sorensen, re-electing Nikki Budzinski. I love that Speaker Welch says, what's the line? Winners do the work, right? Winners do the work. There's a theme here this morning, and it's work. Work is sacred, it's labor, but it's what you must do to get the job done. I'm proud in Illinois that our elected officials in the House, in the Senate, our officers, the governor, Chair Hernandez, thank you for this morning and everything you do. We became the first state in the union to reject vouchers. Why is that important? It's part of the Democratic Party platform, public education. Senator Duckworth mentioned the Republican plans to get rid of the Department of Education. Well, that's actually sort of too nice a way to put it. If you dig deeper into Project 2025, it's not just getting rid of the Department of Education. It's ending Title I, the most important educational program in the history of this country. It's ending funding for special education in this country. That's the tip of the iceberg. That's what we're up against. So I want to say a couple weeks ago, all AFT members were in Houston for our convention. And it just so happened that the Monday of our convention was right after President Biden announced that he wouldn't run. President Biden, Terry, I'll tell you for sure, the greatest labor president in the history of this country. Thank you, President Biden. You know, he and Jill Biden did something never done in the history of this nation, aside from coming to a strike line. I was at a White House state dinner for Teachers of the Year. Never, a full state dinner with all the regalia for teachers. Never in the history has anyone done that. Brianna Morales from East St. Louis, our Illinois Teacher of the Year, IFT member, was there. These teachers were in tears that the President of the United States would do this for them. That's the leadership we have in Joe Biden, and that's the leadership we're going to have in Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. When Kamala made her announcement at our convention, the place went wild. We were ready to work for Joe, but let me tell you, the energy, the excitement for Kamala and Tim is real. It's palpable. Our members are saying, hey, I was going to work hard for Joe. I'm going to work hard now. I'm getting all my friends to work hard for Kamala and Tim. We are working for Eric. We're working for you, for the Senate president. We're working for Nikki, but we also have members who already have been to Detroit. We have members who are going to Wisconsin. That's how we're going to win this election. So thank you all. Thank you all. Can I just have all the labor leaders in this room stand? Illinois is a great state because it's a labor state, because it's the home of labor. Thank you. Have a great convention.
Please welcome to the stage Executive Director for the Hispanic American Construction Industry Association, Jackie Gomez.
Wow. First of all, I didn't sign up to come after all those speakers. However, I have to say that for the first time in a very long time, I am feeling fired up. Anybody else feeling fired up? Fired up! As we gather here in this great city, in this historic election, I can't help but feel, I don't know, what do you call that? Excitement in the air? Yeah, that's the feeling. It's excitement in the air because we know that this is no ordinary convention. This movement will shape the course of our nation's generations to come, of our nation for generations to come. And it's an honor to have the convention here in Chicago, my hometown, because it embodies the spirit of progress, diversity, and unity that defines this party. From the bustling streets of Chicago, where I grew up, to the rural communities that stretch across Illinois, it reflects the heart and soul of America. Our history is so rich with stories of everyday people that are rising up to demand justice, equality, and opportunity for all. But as we near today's breakfast, the close of today's breakfast, I wanted to share a little bit something from my heart. Because this election is more than historic for me. It's actually quite personal. Not because I'm a woman, a Latina, woman of color, or not because I advocate for minority and women-owned businesses as my professional career, but it's because I'm a mother. You see, I have 2 young girls. Two young girls, Emily 8 and Charlotte 6. And one morning, it was my day to take them to school. My husband, we alternate days, right? We were on time, woke up early, they were in a good mood, which then I get in a good mood, so we're all in a good mood. I make them a hearty breakfast, we're not rushing, we go to school, and on the car ride, we have conversation, and I like to always, ask them their thoughts and what they think. So that morning I asked them, what are we feeling like today? Like, what would we like to do, as we grow up? Like, do we want to design bridges? Like, do we want to be an engineer? Do we want to be a teacher because we love our teachers? What do we want to do? Or, I threw out there, and this was months ago, right? Months ago. And I said, or do we want to be president of the United States? My daughter, Emily, was like, Mommy, women can't be presidents of the United States. Broke my heart. Died. I completely, first, I went through a motion of like, I am failing at being a mother because I am not teaching her that all is possible. But what we need to realize is that our young children, our communities, if they can't see themselves in someone, they don't believe that they can do it. They need to be able to see themselves so they can be it. So, like you, I want them to grow up in a country where they believe in their potential, where someone believes in their potential, that's gonna protect their rights and have every opportunity to succeed. So, I have no doubt who's gonna be winning on this ticket. Who is going to be our first woman president of the United States of America? No doubt. So, I ask that you all stay fired up, ready to go, because we are not going back. Are we going back? We're not going back. So stay fired up. Share your excitement. Thank you, and let's make history together.
Please welcome to the stage Chicago historian Sherman Dilla Thomas.
Thank you. Good morning. I'm very honored to be here. I'm super excited. I feel the energy in this room, and I'm honored to share this stage with so many amazing speakers. And it'll be all day if I say hello to all the distinguished and awesome politicians in the room today. What I do want to say is that I'm standing here today because I am the embodiment of what happens when you all get it right. When public schools are funded, I get to learn about the history of Chicago and I get to share it. When extracurriculars are funded, then I get to stay safe. I grew up in the 80s and 90s on the south side of Chicago, and it was really tough. But I got to avoid the pitfalls that some of my friends fell in because we had people in Chicago that cared and they had policy in action. And now I get to tell the world that here in Chicago, we performed the first ever open heart surgery. Here in Chicago, we performed the first ever kidney transplant. Here in Chicago, we're the reasons why all you all know what time you need to be in a meeting in any other side of this country, because we set the time zone for this country. And so we're going to win this election because anytime you get nominated here in Chicago, it's like an 85% chance that you're going to go on to the big house. I'm honored that the esteemed Senator Duckworth is going to allow me to take delegates out to the neighborhoods, and I'm going to show them policy in action. We're going to go buy a couple closed schools so we can see what happens after No Child Left Behind. We're going to go buy a couple vacant lots so we can see what red line neighborhoods look like. But we're also going to go to Alderman Dorothy Tillman's ward, and we're going to see the first residential transit-oriented construction to take place in more than 65 years. Pat Dowell, I'm sorry. We're going to, Pat going to get me later. I'm going to pay for that. I am going to pay for that. I'm going to buy you peaches, okay? We're going to Peaches. We're going to go to Inglewood, where we're going to see a non-for-profit community grocery store where they're not price gouging us. I'm going to take people all throughout Chicago. And of course, we know that Kamala Harris is going to win because she's nominated in Chicago, because everything dope about America comes from Chicago. Thank you very much.
Now, please welcome to the stage Chair of the Democratic Party of Illinois, Lisa Hernandez.
Well, good morning. Good morning. I'll tell you, it's finally come. The day has come. All that work, all that sweat and tears, it's here. The day is here. Thank God. Well, welcome everyone to the DNC in Chicago. It is truly an honor and a privilege for us to be hosting the convention here in Illinois, a state that has been at the forefront of democratic progress and leadership. What an incredible opportunity to showcase Illinois as a model of democratic success. Is it not? From economic growth to social justice initiatives. I am so proud that Illinois, under the leadership of Governor J.B. Pritzker, has led the nation in progressive policies, including economic development, infrastructure improvements, and protection for civil rights. I cannot emphasize the importance of how this convention will highlight how Democrats deliver results that improve the lives of all Americans, everyday Americans, which has positioned Illinois as a beacon of progress in the Midwest. Now, I'm very, very excited to introduce this individual, Senator Cory Booker. Yes, we have Booker in the house. His tireless, I just want to acknowledge his tireless advocacy for justice, equity, unity across the nation. You know, I want to highlight that work that he's done in criminal justice reform, economic justice, and civil rights, which aligns closely with the values that Illinois Democrats uphold. Before I have him come up, I have to ask, you gotta give a listen to the dad jokes. I've been a fan of that. Look it up, you'll know what I mean. Without further ado, let's give a warm welcome to a true leader and fighter for the people with incredible energy, Senator Cory Booker.
All right. All right.
Can you all hear me? Can you hear me over there? Can you hear me over there? Okay, listen up. Yes, listen up. I first and foremost want to say thank you all. This state is hosting one hell of a party. And I want you to know I see some of the best CBC members of my life here, but I want to give a special thanks with the dispensation of my CBC fellows that with my two senators, you guys in Duckworth and Durham have the best senators in Washington. Not the boldest, but the best.
And I want to tell you all, this is incredibly exciting to me. The energy, the enthusiasm, the spirit, the electricity, it is all at a high level. But we have to understand, this is going to be a great week, but we have 80 plus days to go. This is where the work happens. So much is on the line. So much is at stake. I know this is a Democratic Party convention, but everybody has to understand, we are the party that is healing this country. We're the party of we, not the party of me. We're the party of inclusion and not exclusion. We're the party of the people because we're the party of Medicaid and Medicare and Social Security, of union rights and labor rights. We're the party of public education. We're the party of women's rights and reproductive rights. We're the party of civil rights. We are the party that believes every American has dignity and worth. This is not just a Democratic Party thing. This is an American thing. Our creed and our calling is not just for us to get along. Our creed and our calling is for us to love one another more than ever in our nation right now. That is the call. I got to know Kamala Harris years before she got to the United States Senate. And she and I talked a lot about the need for healing because even back then, in the early 2000s, we saw our nation being torn apart by rising hate and rising conflict. People who began to believe that the lines that divide us are stronger than the binds that tie us. Well, that's just not true. And so I want to give you all a challenge this week. Challenge first from me, but I'm going to end with the challenge that Kamala Harris gave me. The challenge that comes directly from me is to remember how we fight is how we win. Not just when we fight, but how we fight is also how we win. Donald Trump is trying to take us down a dark road, but we are people of light and all of us have to be light workers. Now, the challenge from Kamala Harris is a little more interesting, and this is really where I want to end. And I want to tell you, when I got invited by your party chairwoman to speak here, she is an extraordinary woman, and I want to thank her for giving me, for a little while, her daughter to work on my staff in the United States Senate. And so I think she'll remember this, but this was a very historic day in the Senate. You see, we were all on the floor. Very rarely are all 100 senators on the floor. And it was an exciting moment because we were all there voting to confirm Ketanji Brown Jackson to the United States Supreme Court. Now, listen. This is very, very fascinating to me because one Republican senator hadn't come to vote, so we're all waiting for the last vote to be cast, and soon we realized it might take a few minutes, so a lot of us got up, a lot of us are pacing. I'm pacing back and forth, getting very emotional, trying not to cry because my staff will only allow me to have one public cry a month. And so I suddenly bump into another guy on the Senate floor. Now this guy has more titles than the Newark Public Library. Reverend, Dr. Senator Raphael Warnock. Now,
he bumps into me and he immediately sees my struggle. He says, Senator Booker, should I pray for you so you don't cry? And I'll be like, I need Jesus, man. and suddenly as we're standing there, some staffer comes over and says, the presiding officer would like to speak to you. Now, you have to understand, Raphael Warnock and I both grew up in female-dominated families, and so we have this reflex. If a black woman summons you, I have to go. It's just hard to resist that. Robin Kelly understands this. Lauren Underwood understands this. That's their power over me. And so next thing you know, we walk over to the presiding officer. Now, if you see the Senate, the presiding officer is the highest point in the Senate. You're not allowed to stand up there because you would be higher than that. So this is a scene you got to see. It is literally us bowing down, like sort of Colin Kaepernick style, leaning on our knee, and to talk to the presiding officer. Now, she looks at us and says, fellas, this is a very historic moment. Now, I know what she was talking about, but I know it's a very historic moment because this is probably the first time in American history that 3 black people got together on the Senate floor. And the 3 of us were 3 of only the 7 popularly elected black people ever to the United States Senate. And Kamala Harris looks at the 2 of us and says, this is a historic moment. Danny understands why this is a historic moment. She says, we're about to elect the first African-American woman, a woman who's probably, if you just look at her resume, the most qualified person ever to ascend to the highest court in the land. And she goes, you all should remember this moment. Do something to remember this moment. In fact, you 2 should write a letter right now to some young girl in your lives so that they have a piece of history. And then she thinks about it and she goes, no. She opens up her leather binder and she goes, you take my stationery. And there were 2 pieces, just like as if she had planned it, only 2 pieces of stationery there with her vice presidential seal and her name on it, and she hands them over to us. We both got chills. Now, Reverend Warnock, he's not from Jersey. He's a little bit more obedient than us Jersey people. And he goes right back and he writes his letter to his daughter. Now, I happen to be part of those childless cat people in America. I see some others in this room. You all are catastic. You all are clawsome. These dad jokes are perfect. Come on, Executive Director, I had to do this. What do you call a guy like me with no kids that still tells dad jokes? You call him a faux pas. Oh, the pain in this room is palpable. Is palpable. All right, so I now have this burden. I have to write a letter. I see Tammy Duckworth here. Oh my gosh, Senator, I'm sorry I'm doing this to you. I'm making this very difficult to hear. So I know exactly what I have to do. It's a burden. I've got to write a letter. And I didn't write that letter for literally weeks, but I thought about it, and then suddenly I had this very profound realization. This is what I want to end with and share with you. You see, the more I thought about the words that I was going to put down on that paper, the more I realized that there was something deeper that Kamala Harris was asking us to do. You see, Ketanji Brown Jackson didn't get on the Supreme Court just because she was the most qualified for the job. She didn't get on the Supreme Court just because she's an extraordinary jurist. No, we put her on the Supreme Court when we elected Joe Biden and a Democratic senator. I thought that the real profound thing that Kamala Harris was telling me, I learned in a small black church in New Jersey where I grew up, that faith without works is, it is not the words we say that defined us. It's not what we put down when we're writing our stories that define us. The letter that we write that is most profound is a letter we write with the actions that we take every single day. And so I want to tell you, Illinois, that all of us have to decide what letter are we going to write for these next consequential 80 days in American history. When generations yet unborn look back and say, where was my great-grandfather? Where was my great-grandmother? It's not going to be the letters that they wrote in ink. It'll be the letters they wrote with the actions they take. Did you stand up for democracy? Did you work for a woman's right to choose? Did you fight to protect Social Security? That's the letter you write. And you write that letter and how you organize. You write that letter and how many phone calls you make, how many doors you knock on. We need to write a letter because all of us in this room, we're benefiting from letters written by generations gone by. All of us in this room drink deeply from wells of freedom and liberty that we didn't dig. All of us in this room sit before banquet tables prepared for us by our ancestors. All of us in this room are from the love letters that were written by generations gone past. But now, it's our turn on history's stage. Right now, it's our turn to pick up the pen of history and let us tell a story that over the next 80 days, we did what it took. We rose to the challenge. We met the obstacles that we overcame, that we fought, because when we fight, thank you, Illinois. Thank you.